The strongest prisons are never made of steel or stone. They are built inside the mind. You don't see the bars, but you feel their weight every time you hesitate, every time you obey without asking why. The paradox is haunting. Most people believe they are free, yet they live as puppets pulled by invisible strings. Why do so many fall into manipulation while imagining they are in control? Why do intelligent men surrender their will to subtler powers that never raise a weapon? The truth is simple, but buried. There exists an ancient philosophy, long forgotten, that can make you untouchable. A way of thinking that frees you from the traps of guilt, fear, flattery, and control. This is not about motivation or self-help. This is survival. And once you understand it, no one will ever own your mind again. Manipulation is never what you expect it to be. It does not storm through the door, demanding obedience at gunpoint. It slides in quietly, smiling, disguised as care, as love, as opportunity. The most dangerous manipulation is not the one you see, but the one you welcome. Think about guilt. A single sigh from someone close to you can make you surrender your time, your energy, your freedom, without them ever asking. Think about flattery. A few sweet words from a stranger can push you into doing something you would otherwise resist. Think about social pressure. Entire crowds shape your behavior not by threatening you, but by making you fear standing apart. None of this feels like control, yet it is. Society itself normalizes this invisible system. Families call it duty, cultures call it tradition, workplaces call it teamwork. But beneath these names lies the same mechanism, conditioning you to react, to comply, to obey. You are told to share your feelings, to be agreeable, to fit in. But each of these teachings sharpens the tools others will use against you. The paradox is brutal. You believe you are free, yet most of your choices are engineered. You think you picked that career, that belief, that partner. But how much of it was really yours? And how much was planted? Through praise, guilt, fear, or expectation? The darkest truth is this: the real enemy is not the manipulator. It is your blindness. The moment you act without questioning, the moment you respond without awareness, you are already controlled. The puppet master doesn't need to be skilled if the puppet never realizes it has strings. From childhood, the lesson is drilled into you: be open, be honest, share everything. Vulnerability is strength. Parents encourage it. Teachers reward it. Self-help voices glorify it. The message is clear. If you reveal yourself fully, people will accept you. If you show every weakness, others will protect you. But this is one of the greatest cultural lies ever told. In reality, openness is not safety, it is exposure. Every secret you reveal, every fear you confess, every insecurity you display becomes potential leverage in the hands of someone else. What you believe is intimacy is, in truth, a loss of power. And the more you reveal, the easier it becomes for someone with sharper instincts to control you. Manipulators thrive on openness. They don't need to shout, threaten, or coerce. All they need to do is listen. Each word you offer hands them a piece of your mind's blueprint. Once they know what you crave, what you fear, what you regret, they know how to pull you in any direction. Consider relationships. One partner overshares every doubt and anxiety, believing it will bring closeness. But often it creates imbalance. The one who holds back becomes the quiet authority, while the one who reveals too much becomes dependent. The illusion of intimacy hides the reality of control. Or think of workplaces. The employee who vents frustrations openly may feel authentic, but those words become ammunition for rivals. The colleague who smiles and listens gains more from that confession than the speaker ever will. In politics, in business, in personal life, information is power. And giving it away freely is surrender. The contrast is brutal. Society praises openness as virtue, but in the world of power, it is weakness. You think that by being transparent, you build trust. In truth, you become predictable. Predictability kills respect. And the one who can be read easily can be controlled easily. Manipulators know this better than anyone. They cloak themselves in attentiveness, encouraging you to share, while carefully revealing almost nothing of themselves. This asymmetry is their weapon. You give, they collect. You bleed, they sharpen their knife. The brutal truth is simple. Your transparency is their weapon. Every unnecessary confession arms someone else with power over you. What feels pure is dangerous. What feels safe is deadly. Respect is not earned through complete exposure, but through discipline, knowing when to reveal and when to stay silent. Until you abandon this cultural lie, you will keep walking into traps of your own making. They will not need to outsmart you. You will hand them the very tools they use to bind you. There is a philosophy so old that most have forgotten it, yet so powerful that it can make a person immune to control. It is not about aggression, clever comebacks, or dominating others with force. It is about detachment of the mind, the ability to feel emotion yet not be ruled by it, the ability to see manipulation coming, yet remain untouchable because your reaction cannot be pulled like a string. Ancient thinkers knew this truth well. The Stoics practiced it in Rome. Zen masters embodied it in silence. Machiavelli advised rulers to hold their emotions privately while projecting what was useful publicly. They all understood the same law. The one who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. Most people, however, live as slaves to their emotions. Anger makes them lash out, fear makes them retreat, guilt makes them obey, and flattery makes them trust. The manipulator does not need strength if the target has no control. To control a man's reactions is to own his decisions. This is why detachment is the forgotten shield. It severs the chain between emotion and action. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It allows you to feel anger without being consumed by it, to hear praise without becoming addicted to it, to face fear without bowing to it. It is standing in the storm but not letting the storm decide your next move. A detached mind sees manipulation like a chess player sees traps, visible, predictable, and avoidable. The contrast could not be sharper. The emotional man is a puppet, reacting to every pull of the strings. The detached man is unreadable, moving only when he chooses, immune to pressure. Manipulators grow frustrated with him because their usual weapons, flattery, guilt, fear, find no purchase. His silence, his calm, his unshakable presence become armor. Think of a negotiator who does not flinch when threatened, a leader who does not rush to defend himself when criticized, a lover who does not crumble when guilt is used against him. These are not heartless people. They are detached people. Their power comes not from force but from refusal to be enslaved by reaction. This is the forgotten philosophy, to master your mind before anyone else does, to separate your identity from the emotional hooks others throw at you, to never let your mood or impulse become another person's tool. Once you learn it, you stop being a puppet and become the puppeteer of yourself. Detachment does not make you less human. It makes you untouchable. Every manipulator uses the same tools. They don't need ropes or chains to control you. They need only emotions because emotions bypass logic and make you act before you can think. These tools are ancient, reliable, and devastatingly effective. If you don't recognize them, you will obey without even realizing it. The first hook is fear. Fear makes people retreat, comply, or freeze. Politicians use it to gain votes, bosses use it to maintain control, and even friends use it by hinting at consequences if you resist. Fear shrinks your world until obedience feels like safety. The second hook is guilt. Few forces are stronger. A sigh, a disappointed look, or a phrase like, "After all I've done for you." These are enough to make people bend. Families weaponize guilt, turning love into leverage. It makes you sacrifice your freedom to escape shame. The third hook is pity. Manipulators present themselves as weak or broken so you will protect them. They drain your energy by making their problems your responsibility. What feels like compassion becomes a cage you willingly enter. The fourth hook is flattery. Everyone wants to be admired, but praise is often a trap. A few kind words disarm your suspicion, making you trust too quickly. Once you crave their approval, you can be steered wherever they want. The fifth hook is anger. Not your anger, by exploding, raising their voice, or acting outraged, Manipulators pressure you into submission. Most people retreat under this display, desperate to avoid conflict, giving up ground they never meant to lose. Each of these hooks works because they create reaction. Fear makes you run. Guilt makes you obey. Pity makes you give. Flattery makes you open. Anger makes you retreat. The manipulator does not need intelligence when your emotions move faster than your reason. The contrast is clear. A man unaware of these tools dances like a puppet, reacting automatically. But a man who sees the hooks before they land can step aside. He can feel the fear, hear the guilt, sense the flattery, yet remain still. He understands that emotions are real, but reaction is optional. The dark insight is this: manipulators do not create power. They borrow yours. They pull what already exists inside you. Your fears, your guilt, your hunger for approval, all of these are levers. Once you see them, you realize they were never in control. You were handing it to them. Immunity begins with awareness. Once you can name the hook, it loses its grip. The puppet master's tools work only on those who cannot see the strings. If emotions are the hooks of the manipulator, then silence is the armor that makes you untouchable. What you do not reveal cannot be twisted. What you do not defend cannot be attacked. Silence is not weakness, it is a weapon, a shield, and a fortress. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every pause with explanations, justifications, or confessions. In doing so, they hand over their power. The manipulator only needs to listen. But the man who holds his tongue becomes unreadable. No one can map the mind that does not expose itself. Consider interrogation rooms. Skilled interrogators rarely need violence. They simply wait. Most people break themselves by talking too much, desperate to escape the weight of silence. In contrast, the few who remain quiet force the interrogator to guess, to project, to lose certainty. Silence turns the battlefield around. In relationships, the same law applies. The person who overshares every thought becomes vulnerable. Their emotions are on display, open for exploitation. But the one who practices restraint gains respect. Their silence commands attention because it creates mystery. Mystery builds value. Value builds power. Silence also disrupts manipulation in real time. Imagine someone using guilt against you. After all I've done for you, how could you say no? The common reaction is to defend, explain, or apologize. But silence denies them the reaction they need. A calm pause shatters their script. Without your words, their weapon fails. Flattery works the same way. Praise loses its power if you do not rush to soak it in. Anger loses its impact if you do not respond to it. Silence strips every emotional hook of its force, because manipulation requires feedback. Without your reaction, their control starves. The contrast is sharp. The weak man spills his secrets, fights every accusation, and explains himself endlessly. The strong man lets silence speak for him. His restraint unsettles others, because people fear what they cannot read. Manipulators especially hate silence because it denies them the map they need. The dark insight is this: silence is not absence, it is presence. It creates tension. It forces others to lean toward you, to reveal themselves while you remain hidden. What you do not say protects you. What you do not reveal keeps you free. The armor of silence is simple, but it is not easy. It requires discipline to resist the urge to fill the void. But once mastered, it becomes the ultimate protection. You cannot be trapped by words that never leave your mouth. If silence is armor, then reflection is a blade. One of the most effective ways to dismantle manipulation is not to resist directly, but to mirror it back. The mirror technique is simple. You reflect someone's words or behavior back to them, forcing them to confront the truth they are trying to hide. In doing so, you make them unravel themselves. Manipulators thrive on momentum. They rely on you reacting emotionally, defending yourself, or surrendering information. But when you mirror, you interrupt that momentum. You hand their own words back to them like a mirror, and in the reflection, their strategy becomes visible. Imagine someone flattering you excessively. "You're the smartest person I know. I trust you completely." Instead of soaking in the praise, you respond with calm reflection. You trust me completely? The question forces them to expand or reveal their intent. Flattery that once felt charming now sounds suspicious when repeated. Consider guilt manipulation. Someone says, "After all I've done for you, how can you say no?" Most people defend themselves or apologize. But if you simply mirror, "After all you've done for me," the manipulator is forced to justify or reveal the emptiness of their tactic. The mirror denies them the emotional payoff they seek. Even in heated arguments, reflection is power. If someone shouts, "You don't care about me," a mirrored response, "I don't care about you," places the weight back on them. They must explain, elaborate, or retreat. Their anger loses momentum because it has been turned back toward its source. The mirror technique works because humans dislike hearing their own words stripped of emotional decoration. When echoed back, exaggerations sound hollow, guilt trips sound manipulative, and lies sound weak. What once carried force now exposes itself as fragile. The contrast is striking. When attacked directly, manipulators push harder. But when mirrored, they stumble. Their weapon becomes clumsy in their own hands. Reflection does not create conflict. It reveals contradiction. It forces manipulators to confront themselves while you remain calm and detached. This method also keeps you in control. Instead of explaining, justifying, or arguing, you only reflect. You say less yet gain more. Silence and mirrors together form an unbreakable combination. You reveal nothing, but you expose everything. The dark insight is this: manipulators rarely survive their own reflection. Their power depends on you playing the role they design. When you mirror, you refuse the role. You let them trap themselves in the cage of their own words. The mirror technique is not about clever comebacks. It is about control. It transforms their manipulation into a confession. And once you master it, no manipulator will feel confident in your presence again. Reality is not as solid as most people believe. It bends, twists, and reshapes itself according to the story people accept. Manipulators understand this better than anyone. They do not waste energy proving what is true. They focus on controlling what is believed. And once belief is captured, behavior follows. This is the battlefield of perception. Consider how propaganda works. A lie repeated often enough becomes indistinguishable from truth. People act on it, defend it, and even fight for it. Not because it is real, but because it feels real. Gossip functions the same way. A single rumor about someone spreads faster than facts ever could, and reputations are destroyed not by evidence, but by perception. The manipulator does not need reality. They only need a convincing narrative. Everyday life is no different. In workplaces, the employee who subtly frames himself as reliable eventually becomes the dependable one, even if others work harder. In relationships, the partner who tells the story of being the victim may gain sympathy and control, even if they cause the problem. Perception is power, and power shapes reality. The contrast is brutal. The masses argue to be right, while the strategist works to control the frame. Arguing facts is often futile, because people defend the story they already believe. But reframing the story shifts the entire battlefield. Once the frame is yours, their facts lose meaning. For example, if accused unfairly, most people rush to defend themselves with explanations. But the strategist asks a single framing question: why would I need to do that? And suddenly the accuser must prove the story itself. The battlefield changes instantly, because the frame has been stolen. This is why manipulators often seem to win even when they are wrong. They are not fighting for truth, they are fighting for perception. And those who do not understand this keep losing battles they thought were about facts. The dark insight is clear. Perception is more powerful than reality, because people act on what they believe, not on what exists. To control perception is to control choices, loyalty, and outcomes. If you want immunity from manipulation, you must step onto this battlefield consciously. Stop arguing only with facts. Begin asking, who controls the story here? What frame am I inside? And how do I change it? The battlefield of perception is not fair, but it is the one where power is decided. You can fight against it or you can master it. But ignoring it means surrendering your mind to whoever tells the loudest story. Philosophy is meaningless unless it can be lived. To become immune to manipulation, you must apply these principles in daily life, at work, in relationships, and in society. Immunity does not come from knowing tricks. It comes from embodying a way of being that makes you unreadable, calm, and untouchable. Start with work. Offices are breeding grounds for subtle control, politics, gossip, pressure. The one who overshares frustration or ambition becomes vulnerable. Instead, practice restraint. Speak less than you know. Pause before responding. Let silence carry your presence. When others push for reactions, resist the urge to fill the void. The colleague who cannot be rattled becomes respected, while the one who reacts emotionally is easily managed. In relationships, the same principle protects you. Do not hand over power by revealing every insecurity or rushing to explain yourself. Oversharing may feel like intimacy, but it often creates imbalance. Instead, practice selective revelation. Share enough to connect, but hold back enough to remain strong. Detachment here means you care deeply but do not crumble under guilt, flattery, or pity. You love freely but you are not ruled. In society, perception is the great battlefield. News, trends, and group opinions constantly push you to align, to obey, to think collectively. The one who blindly absorbs becomes shaped by the loudest voice. Immunity requires skepticism. Always ask, who benefits from this story? Why am I being told this? Questioning the frame weakens its hold. Do not rush to accept. Delay, reflect, and choose consciously. The contrast is sharp. The manipulated man lives in constant reaction, arguing when accused, obeying when pressured, confessing when praised, retreating when threatened. The immune man sees the hooks, the frames, the stories. He does not argue for approval, nor explain for comfort. He pauses. He observes. He chooses. Practical steps reinforce this mindset. Train yourself to embrace silence. Delay your responses in text or conversation. Practice detachment by noticing your emotions without obeying them. When guilt arises, name it. This is guilt, not truth. When flattery appears, note it. This is praise, not fact. Naming weakens control. Immunity does not mean isolation. It means presence without vulnerability. You can lead teams, love partners, and live in society while staying untouched. You become the calm center in chaos, the one who cannot be baited, the one whose choices are truly his own. The modern world thrives on manipulation. To walk untouched is rare, but by practicing silence, detachment, and perception control, you become immune. People will still try to manipulate you, but their tools will shatter against your discipline. All along, the battle has never been about strength of body, but strength of mind. Manipulators do not win because they are powerful. They win because most people are blind. They exploit reactions, emotions, and transparency. But once you see the hooks, once you detach your mind, the game changes forever. The untouchable mind is not cold, but clear. It feels emotions without being ruled by them. Fear may arise, but it does not dictate action. Guilt may sting, but it does not command obedience. Flattery may sound sweet, but it does not sway decisions. This clarity is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. Think of the mountain. The storm rages, the wind screams, lightning splits the sky, but the mountain does not move. The untouchable mind is the same. Chaos surrounds it, pressure presses against it. Manipulators throw every weapon they know, yet nothing pierces, because the mountain does not react. It simply stands. The contrast is brutal. The ordinary man defends himself endlessly, explaining, apologizing, confessing, chasing approval. The untouchable man says little, reveals less, and remains calm. His silence unsettles. His restraint frustrates. His presence intimidates. He is feared not because he threatens, but because he cannot be reached. This state does not come easily. It requires practice, discipline, and awareness. You must train yourself daily to pause before reacting, to question before believing, to withhold before exposing. Every moment of restraint strengthens the fortress of your mind. And once built, that fortress is nearly impossible to breach. The dark truth is this: to be liked is fragile, but to be untouchable is eternal. People may admire you today and turn on you tomorrow. But if your mind is beyond their control, they can never truly own you. They may whisper, accuse, or praise, but none of it changes who you are or what you choose. The forgotten philosophy is simple: control yourself before anyone else does. Detach your reactions, master your silence, shape your perception. This is how you step beyond the reach of manipulation. In the end, power is not about ruling others. It is about ruling yourself. The man who controls his own mind cannot be enslaved by another. He becomes immune, invulnerable, untouchable.